Hello, and welcome to English Growth Zone. This channel is created for learners who want to improve their English step by step in a clear and simple way. Today, we will explore the power of learning English through daily stories. Stories are not just entertaining, they are a tool to learn new words, understand grammar naturally, and improve speaking confidence. Listening to or reading daily stories helps the brain connect language with meaning in a way that memorizing rules cannot. Every story you read or hear gives you new vocabulary, phrases, and expressions that you can use in real life. Daily stories also make learning consistent and enjoyable. Instead of feeling bored with textbooks, learners can immerse themselves in short, meaningful narratives that reflect real-life situations. Each story gives a context for words, sentences, and grammar structures, helping learners understand how English is actually used. For example, a simple story about a student going to college or a person shopping at a market introduces common words and phrases naturally. When learners listen or read daily stories, they begin to internalize sentence patterns, understand tenses, and recognize common expressions without conscious memorization. Another important benefit of daily stories is improved listening skills. When you listen to a story daily, your ears become trained to hear how words sound, how sentences flow, and how emotions are expressed through tone. This prepares learners to speak naturally, with proper rhythm and pronunciation. Over time, listening to stories increases confidence because learners start understanding conversations more easily, even if the speaker talks fast. The brain begins to recognize language patterns automatically, making speaking smoother and more accurate. Reading daily stories also develops critical thinking and comprehension. Learners not only understand the words, but also the ideas, feelings, and actions behind them. They learn to predict what might happen next, identify problems and solutions, and relate the story to their own life. This builds both language skills and cognitive abilities. The imagination becomes stronger, and learners can remember vocabulary and sentence structures for longer periods. Even short daily stories, if read consistently, create habits that improve English step by step. Daily stories can be adapted for every level of English learner. Beginners can start with simple 3 to 5 sentence stories about everyday life, such as waking up, going to school, or cooking. Intermediate learners can read longer stories with dialogues, minor conflicts, and multiple characters. Advanced learners can read or listen to complex stories with abstract ideas, emotions, and cultural contexts. The key is consistency. A short story every day is far more effective than long, irregular reading sessions. Daily exposure builds familiarity, confidence, and fluency. One more benefit of daily stories is motivation. Stories are interesting and often relatable. When learners see characters solving problems, achieving goals, or learning lessons, it inspires them to continue learning English. Stories also create an emotional connection. Humor, suspense, or simple joys in a story make learners feel engaged and happy while practicing English. This positive feeling strengthens memory and encourages learners to read or listen more regularly. Daily stories also improve vocabulary naturally. Instead of memorizing random words, learners encounter words in context. They see how words are used in sentences, how they connect with other words, and how their meaning changes in different situations. This natural exposure helps learners remember and use new words confidently. With repeated listening or reading, vocabulary becomes active, and learners start forming sentences automatically, even in real conversations. Another important point is pronunciation. Listening to stories daily helps learners hear how words are pronounced correctly. The rhythm, stress, and intonation of sentences are absorbed naturally. Learners no longer guess how words sound, but imitate what they hear. This imitation improves both clarity and confidence in speaking. Over time, learners notice that their accent and fluency improve without forcing themselves to memorize pronunciation rules. Daily stories also teach grammar indirectly. When learners hear or read sentences repeatedly, they understand sentence structures naturally. They recognize patterns of past, present, and future tenses, question formation, and common expressions. This instinctive grammar sense is more effective than studying rules in isolation. Stories show grammar in action, making English logical and easier to use in real life. Finally, daily stories build confidence and consistency. English learners often hesitate to speak because they are afraid of making mistakes. Listening to stories daily trains the brain to recognize words, phrases, and sentence structures, which reduces fear. Learners become more confident in using English for conversations, presentations, or writing. Daily stories also create a habit of learning, which is more powerful than occasional study sessions. One story every day, even if short, creates a rhythm and growth pattern that leads to fluency over time. In conclusion, learning English through daily stories is simple, effective, and enjoyable. It improves listening, speaking, reading, vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, critical thinking, and confidence, all at the same time. Stories provide context, engagement, and motivation that textbooks alone cannot offer. If you want to grow your English skills steadily, start with short stories every day. Listen carefully, read slowly, understand deeply, and enjoy the process. Remember, consistency is the secret to progress. Small daily steps through stories lead to big improvements over time. Keep learning, keep listening, and keep reading with English Growth Zone. Your fluency grows one story at a time.